Welcome back to my channel. I'm Robin Clevitt and I'm building a garden room, and you may have seen the video where I did the how to get your joist dead flat, and I'm actually on the inside now and I'm laying a structural chipboard flooring, and I thought it might be interesting to you, a couple of tips and tricks, the type of tools I'm using and how to use the adhesive. Let's go inside and take a look. So I'm inside the cabin. It's very straightforward in here. It's roughly 40 square meters. The first job I do is load out the rooms, how much board I need in each room. So I've got 9 in there, 9 in there, and I've got 10 in the main area here. Now what I'm going to be doing is running all my floor through in one, like a structural panel. I could join in the doorways as I've got triple timbers, but I'm just going to run it all the way through. I really like the fact it's all connected together. It doesn't need rigidity from the floor, this building, doesn't need that at all. And also the product I'm using is called Egger Protect. It's a P5, which is a moisture resistant, and it's 22 millimeters thick. It will deal with joist centers up to 600 mil. I've got joist centers at 400 mil. Now, there is a couple of rules here, especially if you're doing NHBC site work, that any unsupported ends, even though you've got the tongue and the groove together, needs supporting, and the NHBC want a pair of noggins and they want one back across like the letter H. So that's something you need to remember if you're out on site and it's the first one you've put down. Now, this product, this Egger Protect product, has a coating on it. Now the coating allows it to be laid outside for up to 60 days, providing it's not torrential rain and you follow the instructions. Now, this system is basically all bonded. So it's bonded to the joists and the joints are bonded to one another. It has its own PU adhesive. The PU adhesive will foam up through the joints. You let it do that, and that also protects it from moisture ingress into the joints. Once you've laid your floors all the way through, providing you've got the right expansion gaps round so you're not hitting any masonry, if you're on site and it is going to be exposed to the elements, let's say it's a first floor and you've got another couple of floors to go before the roof's on, you can seal the edges. They recommend that you actually seal the open edges with this stuff as well. It's a little bit fiddly, a little bit tricky, but a paintbrush or something. And also, don't get this on your hands. You need to either wear gloves or have some of those amazing wipes that will clean your hands off. So tools wise, I have got a drill driver, so instead of nailing the first one, I like to put screws in. I use a particular screw for all my flooring. It's a Spax product, it's called a flooring screw, and they're really decent screws. They've got a little thread at the top and a full thread and a gap in the middle, so as you're winding in, it will put it in and out to suit. I've got a jigsaw here for doing notches and that sort of stuff. It's an ideal product for that. And I've got my circular saw for knocking the length down, and I've got my roofing square because it's big enough for me to square across the top, and boom, we're there. And obviously a hammer to use a block to knock the joints up. The only fixings that you need are the first row, and you nail the first row near the edge of the board, and that's purely so you can start pushing the other panels into it to work away. If you didn't, they'd be sliding around. And I think that what I like to do when I'm using the PU glue, because it expands, the idea of it is that the floor is really well bonded down. It eliminates too much creaking in the future. If you've got a mechanical fixing like a nail or a screw, you know, the joist shrink back a little bit. When it's bonded down, it's going to stay attached, and it's not going to do that. And also, if you've got any undulation, we don't have much undulation because, you know, I'm anal, or the people who said, oh, why do you want to do that? You're going to get the sack. I won't get the sack from myself. So I like to use nice flat joists, the PU glue if there is any undulation. For example, in my case, we use a clip to stop our insulation slipping between the joists. The clip's about 1 millimeter. This will also help around those clips because the foam glue will take up the gap. Anyway, I'm going to get on with it. The first thing I'm going to do is cut around some the bay at the front here. I've got some really nice structural posts. I'm going to cut around there, work away, and get it done. So the first job I'm going to do is just cut these ones into length like I've got here, and then I'm going to take them into there. I'm going to cut them into the windows. So I've got myself a scribe block, which is the right distance, just a parallel board, and we are going to use this to mark all of these, cut them out, get them back, get this one dead true, because everything's working away from here. So it's a matter of cutting in here, giving myself a little bit on these. So I'm allowing about 6 mil on these for expansion, but around the perimeters a little bit more like 10. Marking something in situ is so much more accurate than trying to measure it all. Sometimes you can't avoid it, but this is so much more accurate. Let's whack these out with a jigsaw and get this first one bonded and fixed. Just going to talk to you a little bit about the adhesive process. So I would cut yourself the end of the nozzle off, not too wide, because this stuff is pretty powerful when it expands, especially if you've got like nice flat joists. Now, it recommends that you do 2 beads per joist, and also everywhere, you know, if you've got perimeter noggins and that sort of stuff, put it on the perimeter noggins. So what I like to do first for my first row is just using a straight edge or string line, snap a line down exactly the width of the board, just so you don't put too much glue on, step on it, because it's murder, this stuff. If you get it on your fingers, you've got black fingers, you need gloves sometimes, that sort of stuff. So I'm just gonna put all the adhesive through where I need it, get my starter boards in, get them all true to my datum, which in this case is this big glulam beam which runs through the perimeter and along the middle of this floor. Get it into there, fix it down, and then it's a speedy process. So this is a tip for you guys. As you're fitting these sorts of products, they've come from the supplier, they've gone onto a lorry, they've gone from the lorry onto site, they've been moved into the rooms. A word of caution, always have a quick look down your boards to make sure the groove or the tongue haven't been damaged, because if there's got like a little bend on it or it's a bit broken out, clean it off first, because when you try and push those up, you'll really struggle. And you know, you might not get them true, and anyone using this stuff will know that even indeed sometimes they really just don't want to go up any more than that, and I think that's all about getting the glue right. So when I've done really big open floors before, sometimes we perp it out or gauge it out, and we make sure that we stick to a line and we work it really well so the adhesive can take up any of that allowance there, and it just really works. So remember to check your tongues and your grooves before you glue them up. Bit of a notch in. That's it. So once we had the first 2 rows down, we cut the 3rd row dry. This was the first row that went all the way through end to end. All of the board ends finish on a joist. When I plan out my work, I always make sure that I can run my boards all the way through and every single one finishes on a joist. Takes a little bit of time, but in the planning of a building like this is the time to do it. All of the PIR I can have cut in the factory as well. This is the insulation that goes between the floor joists, saves a lot of time on site. And we use a special tape called Gapo tape. If you haven't seen the video on Gapo tape, it's on Skill Builder. Go and have a look at it. It's a really innovative product. It's really something I'm using all the time everywhere now. And then for the next rows after all the cut ones there, it's just a matter of pinging a line down, whacking the glue on, and away you go. So it's pretty speedy, the last bit of this job. So this is the sort of job that you find that you spend ages setting out, cutting and thinking, am I going to get this job done today? And then all of a sudden you get onto the straight stuff, the big stuff, and it is a piece of cake. As I said a little bit earlier, when I'm doing, say, a brand new house, so we won't be putting all of the flooring down before the internal partitions go up, which is quite common. And you know, you can whack down 100 sheets in a day, no problem at all, if all you're doing is cutting the lengths and maybe the final rips at the end. So it is something that if you can get your teeth stuck into, it's quite satisfying. That's all the chipboard down now, and it's been a nice busy day. I particularly enjoy doing chipboard flooring. It's one of those jobs you can get stuck into, literally stuck into if you're not careful with that adhesive. But it's a really good system, and as I mentioned a bit earlier on, the NHBC, for example, insists on a glued floor system because it helps with all that future squeaking and all the rest of it. I particularly like the concept of it as well. I do tend to put a few fixings in. You might have seen that in the hyperlapse, or you might have seen it towards the end there. I do like to put a few in just purely to keep it all where I want it to be while it's all going off. You know what this PU is like, it's just going like that all the time. Anyway, I've done it all the way through from end to end. I didn't need to do that. I could have stopped it on my triples, but I much prefer to have the bond of the boards all the way through. It is considered to be a structural element in a lot of timber frame buildings as well. And you'll see around the edge, we've got like a decent expansion gap. Again, that's something you need to do. And if you're thinking about airtight properties, and if you're building a passive house, for example, there are foams that you can go around the edge which have got a little bit of flexibility as well to allow for that expansion. So this is a good time to go round. Ilbrook do a really nice one, which is always compressible, so it's not like a solid foam is going to go in there. You can go around now and get all that so it's nice and airtight too. Anyway, thanks for joining me. Check back soon, got a lot of stuff coming up. If you're not a subscriber, maybe subscribe, and get over to Instagram because I often put some photos and that sort of stuff over there. See you soon.